Hi.
Right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another Advisory Live. We're here just like we are every single week to give you some more information about how to study in the UK. So as you all know, my name is Mariana. I'm head of advisors, and I'm joined today by someone you know very well and someone who you don't know at all. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. My name is Ivone. I'm working as customer experience for the past year at one of OK Students' companies, and I look into the interactions that you have with our services and how we respond to your needs. So you can have a really pleasant journey throughout your time with us.
Very interesting, let me say. And before we get into it, just gonna say I'm Joana. Hi everyone. Hopefully you've seen me before. If not, I'm one of the student advisors at OK Student. And yeah, we're here today to talk about customer experience, student experience, anything you guys need. So if you've got any questions, please comment down below, and we're gonna answer them.
Exactly. Just as Joanna just said, we're going to talk about everything that involves customer experience here with OK Student, the student experience, how we can help international students get to the UK safer, healthier, all of these fantastic and protected and well protected. I just remembered that we're in the middle of a global pandemic as well. Yay. So don't forget, guys, you can definitely comment any questions on the comments, either on YouTube or on Facebook. And don't forget, if you still want to apply for the UK, we're still taking applications for the January intake and for September 21. So if it's your dream to pursue an education in the UK, please send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk or send us your details through our web form at okstudent.co.uk/form. So we actually already have a question here from Martin, actually asking, what is customer experience and what do you do on a daily basis, Ivone?
That is a great question. So customer experience looks into all the interactions a customer has with a service. So from the moment that you find out about OK Student, from the moment that you start to engage with our content like we are doing right now, or when you finally sign up, and throughout the time that you are with us, what I do on a daily basis is evaluate data from what you are thinking and really connect with you to find out what your needs are and if our services is responding to that.
So it's all about making the service better, right? And like responding to the demands of our clients, making sure that
not only better, but customer focused. Customer centricity is very important because this is all about you in the end, about students and about how their application process, which is a huge moment in their lives, and how our services can actually help them get to that goal and go into university with as much stress-free as possible and as streamlined as possible.
Exactly, because like I remember doing my application and I think you had the same experience as me, right, Ivone, where you went without the help of an agency, was that right?
No, I actually went with the help of OK Student.
Oh, that's right.
So we are both.
I didn't have to do anything. They did everything for me. I just went.
So yeah, as Joanna was saying, basically you're both alumni of OK Studente and OK Student, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think it was like one of the first batches of OK Students to go to the UK. Like
when was it? When was it that you went through the process?
2014.
14, okay.
Yeah, I
2 years.
started in 2013 and then moved to the UK in 2014. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really in the beginning of everything.
Yeah, yeah. And it's very, well, in my case, I'm from Portugal, like all of us here. And it was something really unknown about studying abroad. How does it work? of course, you know about the Erasmus at university. I also applied for that, but it's not the same thing as doing a full-on degree where you're going to move for a very long time. And there's so much more to the process besides application. And that's in particular in customer experience, that's where I look at the most, I believe, in terms of adaptation, simplicity of bureaucracies that you have to take care of as a newcomer. So it's a lot more than that. And it was in 2013, it was very unknown territory. And to have an agency like that help me out, it was completely different. When I finished my degree, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I finished my degree, I continued to have a relationship with OK Student, well, OK Student in Portugal, and just really saw the differences in how the services had evolved, and as well what I could add to the company. So in terms of my experience, what I needed, and what the services could provide.
That's perfect. So go ahead, Joanna.
Sorry, I'm just interrupting everyone. I just wanted to ask if Ivone thinks at the time, was it harder to access information than it is now? So if you think now there's a lot more information for students, and if yes, if we are adapting well, obviously we need to offer more. If there's more information out there, we need to, step up and cover other things. What do you think about
that's a great question. So what I see is, in terms of like the data analysis that we do here, in my time, I had lack of information. Now you have over information. There's information everywhere. Some of it is just an intro to something. Some things are more detailed. Some things contradict others, and it could be very confusing for students now to just find the information by themselves. And so by having an agency like ours and having the information in one place that is certified by our training with universities, our training into what you need, it's a lot easier. So a lot of information is our problem right now. When we in my day, we didn't have information at all. It was really hard to find information on what we needed to do to get to the UK to study.
Okay, so totally opposites, but still a big problem.
Yeah,
and we're still tackling it.
It's interesting problems, I would say, and how it's a completely different approach that you have to do, and by creating content, by sharing content, by actually seeing students that went through the process, sharing that information like we're doing right now, I think it's the best way, because we talk from experience. We talk because we've been through this. We know that you're going to go through this. We've had thousands of students share information with us that we can pass on to you as a new student, as a new applicant.
So that's exactly what I was gonna kind of like bring up now. Is that's one of the main reasons why a student right now should choose OK Student, should choose to come with an agency like us. It's mainly because of this information overload as well, right? It's not just because we do the application, but also because there's so much information out there that it's difficult to filter through what is right and what is wrong.
Exactly. One of the main issues students find when I talk to students that try to do the process by themselves is to choose a university, and to not only to choose a university, but also to see if that university has the right requirements from what the grades they have, so their academic profile. Those are the two main issues in terms of application that students find, and it's very surprising how so you have UCAS, which is the application platform that most universities use, and you sign up, you start seeing all the things that you have to do, and choose the university. But can I actually get into this university? How do I know? I tried to go to the website of the university, and it's so complicated. And the grades, most countries don't have the grades equivalent.
That's specific, yeah.
So am I applying to a university that I can actually get in? Because it's a very important time and an important decision to just go on chance, right? So you really have to know if the university has, if you have the grade that the university is requiring, so the entry requirements, and if like the city is the right fit for you in terms of cost of living, if it's a big city or a small city. So all of these things go into account when you're choosing university. So that's a lot of information to filter on by yourself if you don't have the information or if you have information overload. So that's why we have advisors that do the consultancy with you, check out your grades, check out what you need, what you want, to choose, to filter out a little bit the universities that you may be able to go in and might be of interest for you. And that's customer experience right there. Personalizing this part of your journey for you to make a more informed decision, basically.
Exactly. So I think that also happens on like the opposite scale, right? So there are two things I want to mention here. One is ranking. So going through a general ranking is normally what a student would do. But what we do here is going through the subject specific rankings, which end up giving you a very much more clear information about exactly where you're applying to, how the course you're interested in is doing in terms of employability, in terms of all of this sort of thing, in terms of actual ranking in between these UK universities. And then I also think it's very easy for a student to kind of be misled by marketing a bit and end up in a university that's actually lower than what they could achieve. So I've seen this a lot through the years where students with amazing grades think that they can only go into certain universities instead of trying for something higher. And this is also a bit of a bias that we have, right? Where it's kind of like, because we don't really understand those entry requirements, we think that we can't get into that. But then an advisor can also help you with this. So if you have excellent grades, if you have really good grades, don't hesitate to send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk or send us your details through the form at okstudent.co.uk/form, because it might be that you're aiming for a university that's way too low for you as well.
Exactly. Before I was a customer experience manager, I was also an advisor. And I had a few cases where the advisor or my role was not only to find the university, but to motivate the student to go a little higher, to risk a little more, because they have the grades. I could see, especially if you're a student that's from exact science, say engineering or maths or business.
Yeah, like STEM fields.
Exactly. It's very standardized where it's about the grades, about your personal statement. Obviously, you may have an interview, but if you have those grades, if you are able academically to achieve that, why not try? And sometimes our role as advisors is to also motivate you. And okay, let's put this one. Let's also put another option that is a bit more conservative if you feel like you are not able to get into your first one, but something that fits your profile, not just some university, right?
Yeah, and I think that's really important, when we push students to achieve more, but also do the opposite thing. So bring them, back to earth and be realistic with them and say, okay, you've got low grades. So even if you do have low grades, please get in touch with us, because there's universities for everyone and there's opportunities for everyone, and grades are not everything. But be realistic with them and say, okay, look, with your grade, we can only get you into these range of universities. So there's not even it's not even an option to apply for this one if it's crazy difficult to get into that. And also, it's not only about grades, but we do analyze or evaluate the students' English. So they may have very good grades, but then that university requires very high English, qualifications. So that's not an option. So we do need to filter even more. Or, for example, you come from psychology background, you need a master's. Most masters require accreditation. You don't have that accreditation. So we need to filter it down even more. So there's a lot of things we need to take into account when considering a university. And most people don't know about those. And they look at the rankings and they're like, okay, these are my, top universities, top choices. I'm going ahead. Same thing with, portfolios. We do evaluate those portfolios as well. We can say, okay, this portfolio is good for these universities, but definitely not good enough for these ones. Or, vice versa. So there's a lot to take in. I just wanted to add that as well.
There's a lot of emotions at play throughout the whole journey, and we really have to take that time with each student, understand their needs, understand their profile, really engage in a little bit of a more personal level in order to understand their motivations, to give the best possible university consultancy for them, to make it about it's about them, it's about the students, and each student is different. So like you were saying, sometimes you have to motivate them up, sometimes you have to bring them down to realistic choices. Some students are just willing to hear what we're saying. So because we have all of these different types of students, we have to respond them to each of them accordingly. And that's why my job is to analyze all of these needs and to internally, through training, through projects that we might do, we are able to respond to each of these different needs.
Exactly. So I was going to mention here something that is really essential in what you both said, which is expectation management. And I think this is one of the biggest things as advisors that we need to do, that you do as well in customer experience, Ivone, is just kind of managing the expectation of these students. Like, we talk about it a lot with our students, and it seems to never be enough, because we all kind of have, and I remember having this as well, this idealized idea of what studying in the UK is going to be like. Oh, I'm going to have a penthouse over the River Thames. In my case, it was River Cam. It's going to be beautiful. I'm going to have amazing. Thank you, Alcina, for that comment. We're very happy to be here today. Thank you for watching us. Yeah, and that was, for me, like, getting that expectation just completely shattered was, I think, the most difficult thing that I went through in the entire process. And I think that really mirrors the experience of a lot of our students. What do you both think about this?
Want to go first, Joana?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, from my experience, I can't even remember what kind of expectations I had. But obviously, when you think about coming to the UK, you think about London. You think about, looking at the Big Ben every day, going for, Madame Tussauds every now and then. And then, obviously, most students don't end up in London for different reasons. And we don't really have a clear image of what the other cities look like, what the rest of the country looks like. So I think we need to play a part in that, in explaining what's the difference between what they know, which is usually London, and what's the difference between the rest of the country, because there are differences, and it's different, it's a different experience. And yeah, when I came, obviously I had a look at videos from the city and pictures and everything, but like it's never the same thing. So once I got here, I was like, okay, this is completely different, not in a bad way necessarily, but I wasn't. I don't think I was prepared for how different it was from what I knew from before. So yeah, I think we definitely need to talk about that with students. Something I do often is show them, again, videos. Obviously, that's all I can do. I cannot bring them here to visit the city before, but like share some students' opinions and share some views of the city. I think that's really important, to have a look around, see what the city looks like, what's the vibe of that city. Yeah, but I don't think that's the only important thing, but I think we'll get to that, and I want to ask that to Ivone as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Managing expectations, I think it's the hardest thing, because it is someone's mind, someone's perceptions on what their ideal experience is. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's too high. Sometimes it's too low, and they get surprised. So it kind of depends on the person that you're dealing with. In my case, in particular, um, I I had that London thing. I wanted to go to London and yada yada yada. But when I was met with my options, and at the time, like I said, it was 2014. There wasn't a student finance for masters in England at the time, only in Scotland. And I kind of was surprised by my decision to go to Scotland, and in Edinburgh in particular. And it ended up being a very, very, very nice surprise, where I was confronted with a completely a different culture than England, because Scotland and England have their differences. And it was really about looking into other students. And here, in terms of expectations, it's really something, like I said, it's particular to each person, but most importantly, it's by connecting the community that you really can give a realistic view of what will happen or what can happen. And by connecting students to our alumni that have had this experience, can share, like, what do you think about the city? What do you think about the university? Oh, I didn't like this and I didn't like that. And when they arrive, they already know, okay, I have this problem, but that guy that I talked to a few months ago had the same issue. Now I know what to do. So it's not a big deal anymore. So if you're connected with your community, and in this case we're talking about the UK student community, and even if we look at our Portugal example, students have WhatsApp groups for each university. They talked with each other before going to the UK. Before COVID, we actually had events, like in-person events where they can meet each other. So that's really how we can help manage expectations. Because again, it's a very personal thing. It's very hard to do. And by making the reality as close to them as possible, you can try to manage that.
Yeah, I think that's
Totally.
brilliant. That's exactly it. I think that, yeah, I fully agree that managing the students' expectations is definitely one of the hardest parts of the job. Definitely not the most important, but one of the most important ones. And yeah, community, and bringing out that community and making sure that students can share their own experiences is really important, because I think that actually has an added bonus for us, because then suddenly we as advisors stop being responsible for that student's expectations in a sense, or that student's experience in a sense, because they have this contact with this community who's telling them exactly what it is, what that experience is. So they stop relying exclusively on us as members of the OK student team, as advisors, to give them an idea of what this experience is. So, for example, with the new team, with the OK student team, the UK-based team, we hire mostly, or we always try to hire current students who are actually studying in the UK, who have come from different countries, just so they can be really close to your experience. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you need to talk to other current students in other universities who have different experiences in order to be able to make the best decision for you. So the WhatsApp groups that Ivone was mentioning are super helpful. It's something that we're trying to implement here as well, and that hopefully we'll have them online soon, so that you guys can also take advantage of listening from other people, from their problems and issues, and from their own experience.
Yeah, getting in touch with the community, it's the best way. You get engaged, you figure out where your niche is. You kind of know a lot of things beforehand, which is very important. Information Information overload is bad, but information is power. So the more you know beforehand, the more prepared you are. And obviously, there's some things that are unpredictable, and you will have those obstacles. That happens to everybody. Not everything is perfect, obviously. But the more information that you have about what you need to do when you arrive, and that's our job to share that information with you, the better.
What do you think of? Oh, Joanna, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just signaling. Sorry, no, I just wanted to add, yeah, even though we're students and even though we've been through this, we've had one experience, right? And it might have been better, it might have been worse, and it was in one city at one university. Obviously, we've heard from our colleagues, from our students, some of them, the ones that give feedback, what it's like to be somewhere else. But it's good to have more people and more experience to base an opinion on. So yeah, definitely having students sharing their experiences with our new students is crucial. Yeah.
And it also ends up kind of giving another benefit to this, is not only the information that the student gains, but also the fact that they can kind of get together with other students. And I think emotionally, this makes a huge difference on our experience. What do you think of this?
Yeah, so that goes into the topic of adaptation, which is usually, it's what, for example, we are working on with Portuguese students at the moment. It's an ongoing process, at least for your first semester. It's our Keep in Touch program, where we talked about very important topics of your adaptation in terms of culture, documentation that you have to take care of, emotional management, which is crucial, and it's the community really helps with the social support. And this is something scientific in terms of psychology and sociology. If you find your tribe, that's how we call it, you have your social support. It's much easier for you to adapt to new circumstances, because this is a huge shift on the way that you live. You've lived 18 plus years with your family, with friends that you've known probably since childhood or teenage years, completely different culture, and suddenly you're in a completely different country, living by yourself, having to do work on new relationships in terms of friendships, and new school system, food, weather, you name it. All of those things affect you. And it's very important. It's one of the most important topics that we work on, and really get really valuable feedback on students. So this works in both ways. We help you by giving you these programs, talking you through these steps, and of course, it's not a checklist because it's different for everybody. Some people don't experience cultural shocks, some do. Some have mild cultural shock, some have really hardcore cultural shock. But we kind of learn from you as well. And then from next year, we build on that and we try to respond in a proactive way of what your needs were from last year to this year. Because something that Joana mentioned, that we have advisors had one experience at one university, at one degree, in one city. And that was like the hardest thing to really, for me as a new customer experience, because to really look into this in a different way, without assumptions of my experience to what yours might be. So this was a really interesting exercise of not only looking at this in terms of the customer experience department at OK Student, but really in a company level, to really get that empathy going in terms of how you relate to your students and how they are all doing this for the first time. And although we are experts in making applications, we might predict in our heads what the outcome might be. You don't, because this is the first time that you're doing this. It's the first personal statement that you probably are writing. It's the first time that you're applying for student finance or a visa. So it really is important in terms of training to really look into what our customer is at the moment and relate to that in a really deep way, and put ourselves in your shoes, basically, to really look at what you know, what you don't know, so we can respond to you accordingly and really explain things in the way that you need. I went a little bit off topic, but I think it's important.
I think it's great. I think it's really important to say this, especially the part where, even though we're experts, this is the first time the client's doing it. This is the first time our students are doing it. And that requires a lot of empathy from us as well. It requires that with each single student that advisors have or that the company hires, then we need to think back into our own experiences and kind of own that all over again, kind of think like how lost I felt the first day that I was in Cambridge, and how lost these students must feel now that they're going through this process. Do you feel this way, Joana? Because I know you're still a student. So, like, do you feel like you need to go back to your own experience?
Yeah, obviously to help my students, I do go back to my own experience and I think back what I felt. And something I said even this week, it's like the first days when you come and you need to take care of so many things, but they all related to each other. So it's like, where do I start? Like, what's the first thing I need to do in order to get the other ones done? And I remember coming with my mom. She had a list from OK Studente at the time. So obviously you gave us a list with everything we needed.
I had it too.
Yeah, amazing. Like, get your bank account, get your phone number, do your CV. Yeah, and then he checked it. It was amazing. So my mom had the list. We were walking around the city. Okay, let's go to the bank. Oh, but we need a phone number to go to the bank. Okay, let's get a contract. Oh, but we need a bank account to get a phone contract. Where shall we go? So I remember this so well. And I always, give this example to students. It's like the first days are very overwhelming. But then again, you can ask us. Obviously, sometimes we won't be able to know because things change and maybe things that you need to get that done have changed. But still, at least you've got someone to talk to and someone who knows how you feel. And that's, I think, when we play a very important role, definitely.
You mentioned something very important about what happened, the things that we needed to take care of something. And I remember the bank account, for example. It was super easy to open a bank account for me. I just grabbed my unconditional offer, went to the bank, that's it. And then fast forward 4 or 5 years, and you need a bank letter from the university, and you need all of these things to open a bank account. And some students had some difficulties back in 2018. And luckily for us, Revolut and all of these internet banking accounts turned up, which were a huge relief. And we started to incorporate that information in our it's a reserved space in our website where we have all the information, like exclusive content for our students. And then we put all the information, explain how it goes. And this is how we figure out information, keep up to date, tell you how things go. The community also helps us keep up to date, which is why we value it so much. Regarding that checklist that you were mentioning, Joana, I had that checklist with me all the time until it was like a brittle piece of paper. And this year, for example, we went a little bit further and actually made it into a booklet with even more information that you can put in your pocket. And it had, because there was more things to take care of now. when we went, we was bank accounts, GP, find a house, find a job.
By the way, Dina has contributed to this by saying it's called arrival checklist.
Into an arrival booklet, because now we have all of these things like before, and we have the youth settlement scheme, the emergency numbers that you might need. There was this NHS thing about COVID pandemic, so we put a little bit more information this year on that. So this is how the customer experience actually adapts to you. As new students come in, different needs, different support systems in terms of documentation, in terms of how we talk to you, and in terms of processes.
Perfect. So, shall we do a round? Oh, Joanna, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add another funny story, of course. That's why I'm here. So Ivone was saying it was really easy to open a bank account. Well, I crashed the system 5 times on my bank because they couldn't, my name is too big, it's too long. So they couldn't put it up on the system. Oh, Ivone is gone.
Oh, Ivone died.
She didn't like my story. I think she's trying to get back.
I think she might be trying to get back, but independently. Joanna, go on with your story.
Yeah, so basically, I went to the bank with my mom to try to open a student bank account. So as Ivone said, we only needed like address, obviously proof of address, and then the student letter. That was it. And then we sat there for like maybe an hour because she was trying to put my name, the full name, and she couldn't. The system was crashing constantly. So she was like, well, let's go back to the beginning and starting like asking all the questions all over again. Like, oh, come on. So on my bank account, I've just got my first name and then the initials of all my surnames and then my last surname. So that's all they could do. It was funny.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. So we have a good question from Dina here. So this is the first question of our quick round of questions. Say one thing that students tend to do when arriving in the UK, but they should not. What is the one thing?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Shall we all guess?
Yes.
They tend to do. I think of things that they don't do, but should. Not registering with a GP. They tend to not do that right away.
Can I tell a story about that?
There's been a few emails that come from students like a year later, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't register with the GP, and I need to go to the hospital." Or it's like, "You had a whole year. What have you been doing?"
It took me a year as well.
Yeah, it is. It's just that checklist is there for a reason. We work really hard to do that checklist, and that's like you have. Usually, students arrive a little bit before uni starts, so yeah, it's really important to just get that short time to get those things done.
Can I just tell one funny story about that? So literally, I tell this in PDOs all the time because I was the person who did this. Like, I did not go to a GP when I first arrived in the UK. What happened was I ended up being there for about 3 months. I started working in catering and I started going out like any normal student would. So once I went out and I fell down the stairs of a club. So I fell down the stairs. I didn't have, I wasn't registered with the GP and I was slightly drunk, let's say. So basically I felt fine. I walked out of the club. It was fine. I went to bed. I got some sleep. It was fine. I woke up the next day and my leg was killing me, literally killing me. And I got out of bed. I put in what's the nearest clinic to my house. I went there limping the whole way through. I went there just to get to the GP office and then telling me, you need a letter from your university, which you clearly don't have at this moment, so we can't do anything about your leg. So I had to limp all the way from there to my university, get the letter, go back, get registered with the GP, and then I had to wait for 2 days for my appointment. So guys, get registered with the GP when you get to the UK. You never know when things like this might happen. This is my funny story about why you should get registered.
Yeah, GP, just do the checklist. You have 1 week. In 1 week, you take care of it. People probably in like 2 or 3 days, if you're like wanting to do things slowly. But don't move things, especially in terms of health. Although this year is a bit different because students are a little bit more aware. But usually that's the email that I get 1 year, 2 years later.
Exactly. So I just want to add here, what is a GP? Because it was brought to my attention that students might not know. So a GP is a general practitioner in the UK. It's basically your first point of contact. If you have any sort of medical issue, it's your first point of contact. That's the person you need to go to. If you call, for example, if you call 111, which is the National Health Service helpline, they will ask who your GP is. That's the first question that they will do, because they want to refer you back to your GP if your condition's not serious enough. So these people are your first point of contact. Normally, your university will have information about who to register with or how to register with the GP. So if you don't know, if you're not registered yet and you're in the UK, definitely go and ask your university about it. Or send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk because we can try to help you.
Yes.
So, another question here, rapid question. What does CX mean for you in one word?
Can I use 2?
Yeah, fine. Use 2 then.
Yeah. So, not following the rules here. I would say empathic interactions. That's how I would define it.
That's a very good definition.
Because it's all about the interactions that you have with us and really make it about the customer. So it has to be empathic in its core, at its core.
Awesome.
Well, I'd like to ask, from your data analysis, what is the conclusion like? What did you take from it? What's like the things that students struggle the most when they come? And how should we tackle it? Or are we tackling at the moment? Have we developed strategies to accommodate that?
That's a difficult question, because you really, when you're talking about customer experience, you're looking at each interaction. So, like I said, the one that really matters, the ones that I found surprising in that sense, is how influential the community can be in terms of having a good experience with us, but also when they are not using our services anymore. So the community is really important for, like I said, the social support, and our surprise customer, I would say, well, it's not really a surprise customer, but how influential as it can be as well. It's the parents. It really depends on the type of family that you have. Some students do it all by themselves. I, for example, was one of those people. I did everything myself only after I got into university, because I was a little bit nervous about the whole process. Did I tell my family that I got in and I was going away to the UK? So it really depends, but working with the parents, that's also something that was really interesting that we found through our data, that they were very influential, that we could share information with them, and they can actually work as like a second advisor. Because if they know what they need to do, if the parents know what the students need to do, they kind of work with them. It's like, have you taken care of this? This is how you do it. I know how we do it because students told me how to do it. So they kind of work with us as well, which is very interesting. They're kind of advocates of our work. So keeping parents informed as well as students is also something very important.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
That's,
and like more. Sorry.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
And I just wanted to ask even a harder question. More focus on like maybe adaptation. What did you find? Was it like finding accommodation? Was it finding a job? Was it feeling alone? What kind of response have you had?
Work is a stress point. Finding a job is a very, very big stress point. In that sense, we try to help them by reviewing their CVs, giving them tricks and tips to look for a job. Especially because the majority of our students don't have work experience at all, so their first work experience will be in the UK. So that obviously can be a bit nerve-wracking. And in that sense, again, with our Keep in Touch program, we kind of coach them. And also, very importantly, our ambassadors do a great job in that area because they are there in the same cities, so they really have the know-how of how to find a job in that particular city, which is amazing. So really having that know-how and that expertise really gives us an advantage to help you with one of the most stressful things, which is finding a job. Usually, whenever we do sessions about work, that's when we have the most attendance and the most questions. The loneliness, I think it is. I know that it is a huge point, but that one is a bit harder because students have to come to us in order to for us to help. And whenever you are in that such situation, it can be a bit hard for you to give that step, which we completely understand that it is hard to overcome that. But we do talk a lot about it and just validate all of the emotions that you are feeling and will feel in terms of adaptation, because believe me, they are all normal. It's impossible for someone to be 100% happy all the time, especially when they're making such a big change in their lives. So it's completely normal for you to feel lonely, to feel sad, to miss home. We just give you frameworks and tips on how to talk about that. So, for example, we did a really nice session. This one was for parents because parents also have this emotional thing where they are also lonely because their kids get out of the house.
Emptiness syndrome.
Exactly, that's exactly the topic. And we had a psychologist give a lecture on that and how to deal with that and how to help them from afar. So that's really another topic that we identified and found something that we could do to help with the adaptation, both for parents and for students.
That's perfect.
Amazing.
Exactly. So, last question. I have one last question. Is you've been doing CX for about a year and a half now, you said, yeah? So,
Yeah.
and you've been focusing mainly on the Portuguese culture and the Portuguese mentality and Portuguese audience. So, what do you think of this challenge of doing customer experience, taking into account what you just said about parents, for example, for a worldwide global audience like we're doing now? Do you think we're going to face a lot of cultural differences? Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, because we are dealing again with such an emotional process and such an important step in the life of someone, family dynamics come into play here. So analyzing and looking at those in their individual context is very, very important. And looking at the different countries and really listen and talk directly with the students is the best way, at least for me, to understand how that works and how our approach can be in terms of that student, and if there is a need to have that approach with parents, because some cultures in some countries will probably not need it. So we are adaptable in that sense. Again, looking into people's needs and providing. But it's definitely gonna be completely different than Portuguese. Well, not all, because Portuguese culture is not that unique. But in terms of family dynamics, we may find some similarities, will be very interesting, and we might not, and find something completely opposite, and perhaps look at that market in a different way.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We shall do another live when that happens, so we get to know what Ivone found out.
Yeah, we'll soon start interviewing students. So if you are an OK student and would like to share your experience so far with the customer experience department, I will highly appreciate it. All of us at the OK students team will learn a lot from you. You have valuable insights to share with us, so we can really provide the service that responds to your needs.
Perfect. And I was going to say, exactly, like we just launched a survey as well, right? So we just launched our first survey to our OK student community. So if you haven't gotten it and you're an OK student, definitely send us an email so that we can actually, or send Ivone an email, actually. That's Ivone's email right there, to ask for us to send the survey to you. We're looking for answers from everyone. So please send us your answers, send us your opinions. We would love to hear from you so that we can actually improve the service and we can make it even more useful for you in the future.
Yes.
I want to thank the both of you for being here today with me. Ivone, this was a great conversation, full of really important things. I think we have some great gems here. I think we did give a lot of information, and it was just really fun to have you here. And Joana, it's always lovely to speak to you.
Yeah, it was lovely to be here.
Thank
so
you very much. Thank you, Ivone.
All right. So, guys, don't forget, follow us on all our social medias. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Medium, and we're on LinkedIn. So please follow us on all of them. The handle is right there. You can see it. Send us an email if you want to go and study in the UK, either in January 2021 or September 2021, or any other intake you want. We're open to helping you pursue your dream of studying in this great rainy country that is the UK. I must say it's 3 degrees here right now, so I wouldn't advise you to come in right this second, but I promise you that from January onwards, it starts getting warmer. So send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk or send us your details at okstudent.co.uk/form. Thank you to everyone who's watched us today. Thank you to both of our guests today. And I wish you a great week and a great weekend, everyone.